Hello and welcome back. MC1 Gamer here, bringing you another update as far as 3D printing with Wargaming tabletop terrain. And this is an update with some, again, more of the printable scenery files that I had gotten in their last Kickstarter. I want to just let you know that there's actually a new fundraising program that Printable Scenery is involved in, and that is on Indiegogo, and it's their Rampage system, which takes a lot of the files from their previous runs and turns them into a modular system with interlocking tabs. And you should go take a look at that because that's great stuff. If you've already gotten on board with the Printable Scenery, with their past crowdfunding runs, you probably have access to some of this stuff already. But the new one that is coming out, well, it's not coming out, it's out right now. Go check it out. It has a whole wealth of new stuff, but we're talking about, caverns, dungeons, there are husks for buildings, ruins. All their buildings and all of these different elements have these interlocking pieces. Now, I don't believe this is going to transfer to this particular type of terrain piece, but when you talk about their, the files, like for instance, where you can build a series of ruins that are customizable, rather than gluing them all together, now you can just do interlocking. So that's a really, really interesting system. So especially for RPGs, but plenty for wargaming as well. So go check that out. But I'm going to show off a couple of my newest prints. And I've had a lot of people that have been asking about, updates and had a lot of questions. So this one is actually the Observatory. I'm going to go swing around here, and I'm going to put for reference, because I know a lot of people have asked, one of the figures that I have out on a regular basis, and that's just the Bretonian Archer. He's just one that I don't use very often. I have a whole bunch of others that I have ready to be painted that are way down on my painting queue. But this guy is just one that's out there, so I wanted to go and just give him, give you a reference. You can see, this is the entrance here at the bottom. He's plenty appropriate. I'd say maybe, the scaling of these are maybe just a tiny bit small. I probably would, increase a lot of these builds by maybe 5 or 10% to really make it work. But you'd have to do that across all the files. You'd have to be careful because there's a lot of elements to this. And this is not a completed project. This is just all the parts printed out. So I'm going to move, him over there and show you how some of this looks like. And then I'm going to show you the tavern. I've actually showed a picture of the tavern before, but it was all black and it was kind of off to the side. And I have one that's a different color now. This one is, again, the Observatory. Now, there's multiple pieces here. So I'm just going to try and keep all this stuff hanging on. This is not all bolted together. In other words, I don't have any pieces that will keep these pieces from kind of sliding off right now. This is just not hot off the printer, but it has. I haven't gone to doing anything more with it. But I wanted to show off, giving you an idea of kind of how this looks like. There is a balcony that would go here because there's a door there. So at the top here, I'm going to go turn this around again. You can see there's a nice door here. It has already an open window. I would envision this maybe not sitting flush on the table, maybe sitting on like a rock, just a raised platform area, perhaps with a path that came up, maybe an inch or two off the ground. You could do it with a styrofoam. You just have an area around that much of, just so that models can actually situate themselves around the this observatory itself, and then a ledge on a slant that comes down for rock and dirt, so that this is actually even taller than it actually would look. But it's an observatory, so there's two pieces here. This is going to be the actual telescope. It has these huge gears here that that obviously turn the top. This doesn't actually work, although I'm sure that some industrious person probably could find a way to make that work, which would be pretty cool and interesting to see. It has some extra doors that you could put on. You could actually close up these doors, or you could have them just like this window over here, latched open. That's fine, up to your discretion. Here's another one. There are a lot of ways that you can customize this piece. I'm just going to turn it around a little bit. Hopefully I'm not going to knock anything over. Once again, there's a ledge that would go here, so you can have guys sitting up there. Plenty of room for a regular infantry figure to sit. I'm probably going to have this sitting on this side, just so that the balcony doesn't hover above this area here, so that you can put a guy like kind of like that. May have it where it starts maybe on this side like that, so you have different areas of that where somebody can actually fly up, be able to hide from regular troops that are not missile troops, or just rain down spells and fire from atop. But as long as they're of a standard base size, they should have no problems there. I'm going to take these pieces off so you can see all the different levels. Again, this is the telescope, which you can situate any way you want. I would, it obviously can be, you could put it straight up if you want, but I think it looks pretty much better like that, and have the gears just sitting there like that. You just have, and this is pretty easy. File this stuff down after you glue it together. It's fine. So this is the top level. It's just a solid piece. It's just going to sit on top and be, the dome of the building itself. I'm going to probably drill maybe one or two or three rather holes, and then likewise here, because there's enough thickness to this level, as you can see, that you can put just some pegs. I'll probably use a brass rod or something like that, and install it. And I'm probably going to install it on the base part of each one. That way, if you take the lid off, which is what you're most commonly going to do, and you place it, say, on a game mat, you're not scratching it with some protrusion from this point. All right, so I would highly recommend that if you're going to do that, do it from the part that the roof or the level is coming off of, and have that stick up. So you have this level here. You can see that it's pretty well detailed when it comes to the flooring, which are wood planks. The interior of this has all kinds of rivets, all these metal plates. I plan on doing this in some kind of brass coloration, certainly metallic coloration, which is going to be a big contrast to the rest of the structure, which is more of a stonework and some other pieces here, for instance, which is what I would consider, I guess, these roofing materials and some wooden areas here. So it's not incredible in terms of its size. I would imagine it probably would benefit from maybe a hatch door here, some kind of an indication of how you get up from the levels other than just walking outside. But perhaps that's how you do it. They walk up, and maybe from this level up to here there would be just one. There's just one staircase or a ladder or something along those lines. This level is pretty much identical to that one. Now this door is here, but this comes off. So these doors and these gears are a separate file. It's very similar to the level previous. And again, plenty of room on this level here where I can do some drilling of 2 or 3 of these holes. This one has an extension to the staircase. It's just balcony area that comes off that's easily glued. I'm probably going to glue it static to this second story, just because this space here, it's really, it's nice, it looks good. I just don't know if I'm going to use it, and it's just a lot more work. I just don't think it's very unlikely things are going to fit in there. Actually, maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Tell me what you think. It's just another area for some guys to be placed in there. I would have preferred keeping it like that if maybe this wall wasn't here, and that would be a nice modification. Just removing this wall or maybe inserting a door, but that's a lot of work. You're just cutting out the plastic. I would have liked that to be maybe an add-on that the designers would have put in there. It would have been a little bit more superior in my opinion. But it's, again, look at, you can see the detail. This is going to look great once you get some paint on it and you do some, even just a wash. But you can see there's a door. This is not a door that's removable. One criticism is, these stairs are not really situated for minis. Unfortunately, you're just going to have to make do, maybe put a die in there, find some way to do it. Of course, you could always just say, anybody who walks out there, you just put them up here. That could just be how you do it also. It's up to you. You have plenty of options. But, this is a nice material. Came out great. The base really came out great. And I'm going to, of course, again, put a number of pegs to have this be placed on here. And then this is your base structure. Again, a lot of stonework, plenty of room here if you want to put any observatory, tables, charts, anything like that. There's plenty of room to populate this if you really want, or just if you're using it for wargaming instead of role-playing, obviously leave it as is. And then this is a port. It's a place for you to be able to store any units that are occupying this structure. And this is probably the biggest area of all of them. The only other thing I would say is a little bit to be a little critical on. This is a this is a standard infantry unit, and he certainly has room to to sit in there before he's the roof is going to catch up with him pretty quick, only because he's got this bow. But a lot of figures have dynamic poses where they have swords, shields, banners, all these different types of things. You're not going to be able to put all those guys in there if that's what you want to do. So the modularity of this is limited if you build it at the regular file size. So if you increase it by 10%, even 20%, you can get away with this easily, increasing this by 20%. It'd be substantially bigger, but you're going to have more room for these balconies. You're going to have obviously larger here. The doors are going to be bigger. Look, when you're playing, you're not going to be walking these guys through, but you might want to have somebody sitting maybe in the doorway potentially, and room for larger figures that maybe have are sitting on a larger size base. I've got this one on a metal washer, so it's a little bit closer to the ground, but some of the standard bases are, good, 2 to 3 times thicker than that, situating, with a little indentation underneath. So you might want to have a little bit more of of room for the roof by building this thing out bigger. It's going to cost you more PLA, which is the material you're printing from. It's going to cost more time. So that's a major consideration, but honestly, as a terrain piece, for what it's going to be doing on the table in a wargaming situation, it's just, you don't have to do that. You're wasting a lot of material to get a little bit of functionality, and I don't think it's necessary. I think that's really going to it's just a lot of work for a little reward. And I could probably see why that they designed it this way, because it's a great looking piece. I'm extremely happy with how it came out. I would highly recommend this as a file. It just, even whether you are interested in specifically in the a scenario item that is going to resonate with a story, or if you just want a very interesting different piece on the table with a different dynamic, this thing blocks line of sight. It's got a lot of areas for you to bring units above standard elevation, and it's just got some character. And one of the things I plan on doing is once I build out this and a few more other pieces, I'm going to make a skull vein manse, but with the different components than the standard GW stuff. So that's the observatory. I'm going to move this one off to the side. I'm going to show you one that I just recently finished a print, which is the Tavern. So I'm going to put this guy in the background here, and we'll get back to that, and we'll start putting out the pieces for the Tavern. So bear with me. All right, so this is the front door, front level. I'm going to show you how many pieces there are, because this gives you an idea of also how many stages of print there are in getting this thing actually built. So this piece fits, let's see if I'm doing this right. Nope, that goes right there. All right, so we have, this is kind of stables, an extension on here, door here that is not openable. I don't know if there's an option. I didn't see any where this could be opened or empty in the actual print files. This piece here in the black PLA one that I had, this piece kind of broke off. It kind of got pushed aside until I learned about a feature called the Z-hop, which kind of brings up the extruder when it's not extruding PLA. When it's moving laterally, it kind of brings it up just a little bit so it doesn't bump into other pillars that it has. Well, I haven't had that problem since I've toggled that particular feature. But this is just a wood pile, an extension to this first floor, and you can see this is 4 decent sized pieces. Each of these is a good 12 to 15 hours of print time. So that's the first level there. I'm going to go ahead and zoom this in just a little bit so you can get a little bit better picture of what this thing is looking like, and adjust this up just a little bit. Here, let's see. Sorry if that makes you a little woozy, but here, let's see. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and just to give you a little bit better idea of what this looks like, I'm probably going to offset this just a little bit, give you a bit of an idea of the depth and the angles. Here is our Bretonnian archer. So that should give us a little bit of an idea of what that first level looks like. All right, and you know, look, there's not, this is a tavern, so you really should have, I would like to see it bigger also. I actually printed this with an option that doesn't have a door. Base doesn't quite fit there. You could print this out where you added another 10, 15, maybe 20% even, and made this larger, because then maybe you want to put a bar in here. I did see one poster on one of the 3D printing forums that actually put a spiral staircase, I think right here, but it kind of dominated this one section. And he put in a bar and he had figures there, you know, a tavern keeper, a wench, tavern wench. I'm not sure if that's PC in the modern world, but it certainly was in the medieval world. In any case, this is the first level. The second tier is a little bit different. So you have a couple of these are really nice pieces. They don't look like they should be tall enough to fit the figure, but when the roof comes on, the top part, it's going to be more reasonable. But once again, for what this does, if you're doing this for role-playing, I can totally see why you might want to build this bigger. It's going to be a behemoth of a piece, but it's going to have a lot of character and it's going to work really well. But this would situate, let's see, right here, right up top. It has just a bit of an overhang. Let's see if I'm doing that correctly. And then you have this back piece, just really nice looking piece here. And these slats here for the windows, they're really kind of thick. They go the whole distance. It even has on the interior here these support structures. You know, it's nice. You've got room to put stuff if you want to. You would glue this together and then find a way to, you know, secure it to the first floor. So that would be there. And then it has this piece here, which is the roof to this side part. And that lines up here with this support structure. I might not be have this exactly perfect, but I'm going to do my best. Again, this is all separate pieces. Then here's the roof that goes onto this kind of stables area, an area where there's like these feed troughs. All right. And the roof is just great texture. Now that's the next level. The last level incorporates this, which is, this has a small chimney. So you put this in there. And then you have your two, put him here, your two roof structures. Now again, I would glue this together and then find a way to have this, there's a lot of room here, but these are an angle. So, you know, again, I could see increasing the scale of this when you print it out, but for what this is, I think it works just fine. If you want to situate a unit of 20 troopers, you have plenty of real estate inside this piece for wargaming purposes, and certainly enough if you want to do something for a tavern. But for a role play situation, if you're doing, you know, D&D or Frostgrave, you know, there's not a lot of room to do stuff inside. This is not what I would call a very large tavern, but it certainly suits the purposes as far as just a large piece of terrain on the battlefield, and I think it is one of the nicest pieces. The character, the detail, just for what it does. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, it gives you an idea of just how much is involved in this. You just see some really good detail on the side of these roofs, and I could just see, you know, just an incredible paint effort to make those look beautiful. That's going to be the thing that people see the most. But this, you look at it and you know what it is. It's a huge piece of terrain that blocks line of sight, and there's a lot of things that you can do, and it's just going to make that section of the table look amazing. So these two pieces are the latest prints. I'm going to see if I can push this over just a little bit here. Let's see if I can reposition this. Let's see. And then bring this one back in. You can see the size comparison to these. We'll put that in there and show you all the other pieces to this and give you an idea of, you know, again, the scale for these two builds. And I'll zoom out just a little bit so you can see both of them side by side. You take a look at that archer. I mean, that archer is dwarfed by both these pieces of terrain. So even though I don't think the scale is 100% appropriate, it is appropriate enough. And you can make the argument that it works anyway, just in terms of the scale, because the model isn't able to be, it's not flexible, the arms can't move, it's in a dynamic pose. So if you want to be nitpicky about it, for game purposes, maybe it's not as convenient. But in terms of the appropriate scale for what the building structure is, it fits, it works. But if you want a behemoth of a piece of terrain even beyond the size of this already, yeah, you can dial it up maybe, again, between, I'd say no more than 20%. That's maybe even a reach. I would say dial it up maybe another 10% and you probably can get away with it. It would look just fine. I think if you went too far, another 20%, 20% beyond, 120% of the, in the scale meter, in the slicer software, I think you can get something that's going to look a little strange, and it's just going to eat so much PLA, and it's going to take a whole bit more time. Each of these particular pieces took the better part of a week to print. You could see there's many different layers. There's many different components sometimes on a layer. They can take anywhere from 12 to 15 hours to complete. So, you look at the detail though. I mean, I can zoom in a little bit here and try to give you an impression of what some of the detail is on this. And, the roof, look, there's not too much lighting to get into that area there. Look at the details just on the stonework right there. The incredible detail as far as the metallic portions of the observatory. Overall, I think these are fantastic kits. You know that if you've seen any of these videos, I highly, highly recommend all of the kits for printable scenery. I absolutely think they're just top notch. Some of the best that you're going to see out there when it comes to any of this kind of terrain. There's others that are producing stuff, but when it comes to just medieval terrain, these guys do World War II pieces, which I have plenty files for that I haven't started printing out yet. Plenty of sci-fi, just tons of applications for science fiction. I mean, even this observatory could work in sci-fi, to be honest with you. But just a whole range. Printable Scenery, I don't think, has gotten into the modern world yet when it comes to some of their files, but when it comes to fantasy, sci-fi, and historical, like World War II or ancient battles, they're just some of the most amazing sculpts you're going to find out there. Hope this was of help. If there's any other requests, please let me know. I am printing some of this stuff out for people. I am available to do so and rent out my printer. One of the main stipulations is that you're going to have to buy the file from the source, but I'll deduct that from the print when we do. If you are interested in doing it, I will deduct that from the print. But you got to go and pay up to the actual designers of this, because that's their business. They deserve it, and that's the source, and that is also what the licensing agreement is when you purchase this stuff. So please don't renege on that stuff. If you're interested in contacting me, that's one of the things I'm going to bring up right off the bat. So thank you again for tuning in. Have a great day, and till next time.